Petrol Ped, and welcome to the Abarth 124 Spider. It's collaboration review time again. Roll the titles. Woohoo! Here we have the Abarth 124 Spider. For me, a really handsome looking car. Now, the format of this collaboration review, if you've not seen one of these before, a few days ago I put out a post saying, I've got this car for a week, what would you like to know about it? I've had loads of suggestions, I've compiled them all, and I'm going to do my best to squeeze them into the next 15 to 20 minutes. I do have my work cut out for me though. So the first thing we're going to cover off is the looks of this car. So Jeff Harris said he was puzzled by the looks. Dr. Joseph Plough said he looked like it had been in a crash, had the panels replaced and they hadn't bothered spraying them. And then Christopher Bell basically said he wasn't too sure about the black and the white. And there was a few other questions around, do you have to have a black bonnet and a black boot? Let's just explain why the car is dressed like this. So first things first, if you actually look back to the original Fiat 124 Spider, it looks very similar to this actually. They made that from 1966 to 1980. And as part of that, in 1972, they launched an Abarth 124 Spider homologation. It was called the 124 Rally, and it was to help homologate this car to go rallying. And in that car, to save weight, the bonnet, the hardtop and the boot were made of black fiberglass, and it was quite famous. There were white and red variants of that, and this is called their heritage look, and that's why the bonnet and the boot are black. It is a no-cost option, you don't have to have it. I personally, it's grown on me. When the car first launched I wasn't sure. Having spent time with it, I really like it, but that is why you've got a black boot and a black bonnet. You don't have to have it though, you can just go for normal flat colours if you want. So the next bunch of questions were all about the car and the soft top. So Ray Brock asked, is there plenty of headroom with the roof up? And to be honest, there is. Now I'm quite long in the leg and short in the body. I've got a reasonable amount of room. It is a pretty snug fit in here. This is kind of me set up for driving, but it doesn't feel too claustrophobic, although it is quite a compact, cosy cabin with the roof up. Although, as we are blessed with such beautiful weather at the moment, I haven't driven it very much with the roof up. Next question from Colton Cleveringer is basically, how quickly does the roof go down? It's not an electric mechanism in this car, but it is so simple. There's basically a latch here. You clip it shut and that is it, soft top motoring. And then to close it again, you've got a little flip, pull it over. That's it, done. I've always had electric mechanisms in cars and always thought, really, manual roof? It's so fast and so easy. In fact, for the rest of this review, I think we'll have it down. That's it, brilliant. Now the last roof related question comes from Eve Klein, who asks if there is a hardtop, a removable hardtop variant. One was launched at Geneva this year. It was called the 124 Spider GT. It's going to have a carbon fibre hardtop that weighs only 16 kilos, and that will be coming later this year. So far I believe it's not available in the UK, but it should be available by the end of the year. If anybody knows any different, please put in the comments below. So a hardtop isn't available currently, but there's one on its way. So we had quite a few questions about how much stuff you can get in the boot. It's not the biggest boot in the world. First question was, can you get a dog in the boot? Let's find out, shall we? I have an able assistant sat off camera. Yes! Let's just see. What do you reckon, mate? Is there enough space in there? She's not impressed. You wouldn't want to go in there for a journey, would you? No. So let's do some real science, shall we? Plonk her off camera. So first question from Mini Eggs was, with the roof down, how much can you get in the boot? Now actually the roof going up and down doesn't affect boot space, but what I thought would be an interesting test is a kind of standard size case that you would take on holiday and whether that would fit in. And it just about, you kind of have to angle it, it just about fits in. There's a bit of space either side, but it's not a gigantic boot. The second question I got was from Bradley Donkin. Can you fit a bike in the boot? Don't be ridiculous, Bradley. You'd struggle to get a wheel in there, let alone a whole bike. Yeah, it's not that kind of car, mate. So when you read the spec of this car, I certainly looked at it and thought, this car's going to be disappointing because it doesn't have a huge amount of power. Let's pop the bonnet and talk around what I think actually makes this car a really interesting proposition. I think we all know fundamentally the MX-5 and this car share a huge amount of similarity. In fact, they're made in the same factory in Hiroshima in Japan. The difference is this has got a kind of Fiat and then Abarth take on the car. It's powered by a 1.4 multi-air turbocharged engine. Now this produces 168 bhp, 250 newton meters of torque, so it's not gigantically powerful, and you might instantly look at that and think, in that case it's not going to be that fast and not going to be that engaging to drive. 0 to 60 is dispatched in 6.8 seconds, 144 miles an hour top speed, and you think, I'm not sure. And then you start to drive the car. It's a very lightweight car. It's got a lot of low down torque. The way the power is delivered is really engaging. It's coupled to a 6-speed manual transmission in this case. There is an automatic version, which clearly I don't have this week. It's got a mechanical limited slip diff, and it's coupled to the most amazing sounding exhaust. They call it the Monza Record exhaust. It's basically got a valve in it, so there's a sport mode in this car, and when you switch it into sport mode, the noise the engine makes is just amazing, and it kind of then starts to fill your senses with lots and lots of things that just make the speed not important. I can't believe I'm saying that. So to try and help us understand that, I think the best thing we can do is take this car up the road for a drive and just talk through the driving dynamics of the car, because for me that's the bit that's really taken me by surprise with this car and the bit that I love about it the most. And Roger Bailey both wanted to know, tell me more about the engine, tell us more about this exhaust note. Well, this exhaust just sounds amazing. How a 1.4 turbocharged engine can be made to sound like this, I've got no idea. It was witchcraft. And what I love about the car is that engine note, whilst I can imagine is probably a bit over the top for some, a bit boy racery for some, it gives the car a character and a drivability that makes it really endearing. It's just, you know, you don't get in this car to drive, you know, massively fast and go from A to B as quickly as you can. You go out for a nice, enjoyable drive on a beautiful day like today. You go out and enjoy the B roads for what they are, nice, tight, twisty. You're begging for another corner to come up so you can drop it down a gear and get that engine singing. And when the tree canopy comes over, the noise from that exhaust bounces off the trees and it's just delicious. So Ryan Spink, Reflection Car Care Detailing, and David Nimerov all asked very similar questions. What the 0 to 60 to 0 time of this car was like. So, and then the other question is, how does it compare to my Mini? So let's do a head-to-head 0 to 60 to 0 test. Abarth 124 Spider versus John Cooper Works Mini Roadster. 3, 2, 1, go. Question is from Tom Beresford, and he wanted to know what the difference was in feel when you engage the sport mode. So, like most cars, the sport mode in this car does three things basically. It sharpens the throttle response, it just firms up the steering feel a little bit, and it pops open a valve in the exhaust. So it does that. If I'm brutally honest, there isn't a gigantic difference when you go from normal to sport mode. If I just plop it back into normal mode, drop it down a cog, and still sounds pretty good, right? So yeah, sport mode, you basically get in the car, turn it straight on. That's what I've done every time I've driven the car. Sport mode on, instantly. Next question is from Sharon Axel. She wanted to know how it feels to drive and does it give back to the driver? Up the Petrol hill climb, I'm going to find out. And the simple answer to that, Sharon, is yeah, it gives loads of feedback through the steering. The limited slip diff works really nice. I've been tending to drive it with the traction control turned off most of the time because it's just very progressive. But it really has a nice feeling to it. It's got lovely balance. Apparently 50-50 weight distribution, and I feel like it's just a really nicely balanced car. So yeah, how does it drive? Really bloody well. It's an absolutely brilliant little car, this. The next question from James Wingrove is it long-legged enough to do a long trip? Well, there's only one way to find out, James, and that's to take it on a long trip. So, I reckon we take it to Nottingham. So it is now 2 days later and I am back from my little road trip up north to Donington Park, and what an occasion that was. So great to get this car parked next to the Lancia and get those lovely photographs. But it was about a 500-mile journey. Things I learnt, well, I averaged 31.8 miles per gallon. I actually averaged probably much better than that. I was in the high 30s on the way up, but I drove quite quickly on the way home because I got stuck in traffic and then was late. Pretty comfortable car. I got a numb after about 2 hours, to be expected, but this car is quite cramped for me. Cool things, when you pick up a phone call on the hands-free, the speakers are in the headrest. So even with the roof down at quite high speed, you can still have a conversation hands-free. And I love that feature, absolutely love it. But all in all, a pretty usable car for a long journey. I also took a lot of stuff with me. I had my overnight bag, all of my filming gear, and my race gear, and my crash helmet, and it all fitted in the boot really well. So, simple answer, what's it like for a long journey? Pretty good, to be fair.
So I've pulled over at my favourite spot because I had so many questions. I wanted to try and cram as many into this review as I could. So I'm going to do a quick fire 60 seconds, as many of your questions as I can get through in 1 minute. So 3, 2, 1, go. So, Guillem Campanero, does it lean in the corners? No, it's really flat attitude through the corners, goes around them really nicely. Scott Hammond, can you get it without the black hood? Yes, it's a no-cost option. John's Coupe, is it fun to drive? Huge amount of fun to drive. Big smile on your face car, this real sense of occasion. Stuart Parker, does it have many rattles? Not at the moment. This car's put together really well by the looks of it, and rattles for me normally come around sort of 6 to 12 months into ownership. Statin Tech, has Mrs. Petrol driven in it or been in it, and what does she think? She has. She's been as passenger. We went down to the New Forest and she liked it, although for her not quite practical enough. Raphael Larosilieri, how is the sensation of speed? Very good. You're sat very low in this car, so even at low speeds it feels like you're going fast, which is a good thing. TikTok at H, would you swap Ruby Roadster for it? No. Senna F1, quality of the seats, switches and feel of the car, all very, very good, I'm pleased to report. Wheel leg, has it got heated mirrors and how good is the aircon? It's very good. So, there you go. I managed to get loads, or as many as I could in 1 minute. So, let's get back to trying to bring this video to a close. So I'm going to draw this review to a close. Firstly, a huge thanks to everybody who contributed by sending in questions. I wasn't able to cover everyone, but I hope the ones I've covered have been interesting for you. My final impressions of the car, I really, really like it. I think it looks stunning. I've said it a couple of times, it gets so much attention when you're out and about. Could it compare to an MX-5? I drove the MX-5. I prefer this car over the MX-5. I know it's about £6,000 more expensive than the MX-5, but I just think this car has a bit more character. It has just a little bit more panache for me than an MX-5, although I do prefer the front end of the MX-5 in terms of styling. My big challenge with this car, although I love the drive, I love the ethos of the car, the fact it's all about driving, it's got a super gearbox, super driving feel, super steering, it's just not quite got that punch for me. And interestingly, when I was driving back from Nottingham last night, I had a lovely time going through all the B roads, but every now and again you'd come up against a car that was going just a little bit slow and you wanted to go past it. And a couple of times last night I thought, I can't go past it because I don't have the horsepower, I don't have the grunt. If it was even if I was in the Mini or the S4, I'd be able to pop out and quickly zip past. And for that reason alone, that would probably be the reason I wouldn't buy this car. Plus, well, actually there's two reasons. I'm not quite comfortable in this car. It's not quite big enough for me. My left leg kind of rubs against and bangs against the handbrake, and I've not quite got enough space to be fully comfortable, but I love it to bits. I need to say a huge thank you to Abarth UK for letting me have the car for a week. It's always great to get a car for such a long period of time and really get to understand it, and I really have fallen for this car. It's beautiful, it sounds ace as well, and everybody I've had as a passenger in it have just thought it's a fantastic little car. But I hope you've enjoyed the review. If you have done so, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come. And from the driver's seat of this cheeky little Abarth 124 Spider, I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care, drive safe.